Welcome to the demo. Please enjoy your stay. If you want a really good video, lean over there and put your head right in that window right beside you. Let's do it, baby.
Throw it in park as I open the door. Baby, you wait in the truck. Old photographs scattered on the ground. Take a breath and my mind gets stuck. I can hear the screams, I can hear it all. Is it all just in my head? This whiskey bottle is keeping me sane, but I'm stuck in the past that night in the rain. Flashing in the headlights, eyes like a forest fire, running out through the woods. Screaming through the treetops, crashing through the mountains. This guy is up to no good. My blood ran cold as my lights caught a flash of something out across the plains. I stood there staring at a blood-soaked human covered with fur in the rain. The night the werewolf came. The night he went insane. Bloodshed in the rain on the night the werewolf came. The night he went insane. Bloodshed in the rain on the night the werewolf came. The crowd gathered round out there in the woods with guns all ready for war. Shots were fired at the big black beast. I can still hear him roar. The rain that night was a hell of a storm, and the blood ran cold as ice. But no one saw him hit the ground as he ran into the night. The night the werewolf came. The night he went insane. Bloodshed in the rain on the night the werewolf came. If you're out in the woods and you hear the scream, you better get ready to run. 'Cause the beast is coming, he's mad as hell, and he ain't scared of a gun.
Whoa, yeah, damn shit, piss, hell, damn. Hang on a minute. I gotta be 100% on point. Gotta get one eye closed and one eye open. Uh, Make sure I'm doing everything right. I want to be in character here. I don't want to disappoint my fans. What's up, guys? What's up? Showing up tonight, doing things. Why ain't y'all showing up over there? Y'all might be able to see it. I can't see it. I think this stupid thing's broke. Anyway, I don't know. Can y'all see the chat on the screen right now? Or is it a big blank box like it is on my end? Anyway, y'all can answer me at your leisure. So, yeah, we got things going on. Let me show y'all something. Look at this box. Look at this box. This box right here. Hang on, we're digging in. Going in deep. Going in deep, guys. Yeah, I gotta watch my freaking pacemaker. It'll go off on me. If y'all hear something start beeping, it's not your car alarm. It's a damn pacemaker throwing a fit because this magnet's beside me. This is a Slaps mid 8. This is a mid, guys. Can y'all see that? Yeah, I can see that. Look at that. This is a mid. Y'all get ready and watch for the porn. I'm gonna finger this thing. Here we go. There, look at that. My finger gets lost in there. That's a hot dog in a hallway if I ever seen it. Right there. That thing is serious. Drop my cigarette. Oh, I'm gonna burn the whole house down. Can't be doing that. wasting. I've been on cigarette abuse. Massive amount of cooling in the back of this thing. Nice heavy spider. Nice leads. Heat shrinked with push terminals, not spade connectors. Got the push terminals. Got the prison number on the back here. Uh, these things are monsters. And I got a set of these that I'm eyeballing for the doors in my car. Yeah, it's a monster sub. It might as well be a damn sub. Um, and here's the thing, man. So let me go over here real quick. I'm gonna put y'all over here. Y'all come over here with me. Quit screwing around. I don't know what y'all are doing. Let me fix this real quick. Screen entire. There we go. Now we're locking on the door. So let's go over here to mid-bass tweeters at Slaps Audio or mid-bass tweeters. Y'all hear that shit? My brain is fried tonight. So these are the 8-inch. These are the guys we were just looking at right here. They're $60 a piece, guys. Now I'm gonna tell you something. You go find me a speaker that's made that way anywhere else, right? And odds are you're gonna pay more than that just for a recon. That's the whole driver, $60 a piece. Discount code CAE. Save yourself a little more money off of that already ridiculously good price. Yeah, I mean that's the driver. What's it say? Let's go down through. They're 8 ohms, but they're very efficient. So these are 95%, 95 dB efficient. These are extremely efficient. So it don't take very much power at all to get these things to really talking. And 300 watts RMS, and that's real power as long as you're actually crossing them over where they need to be, which is 84 hertz to 5K. And I cross over my tweeters at 5K, so them line up perfectly with a set of tweeters by themselves. Don't even need anything in between them. They'll reach up and grab and meet them. And I know my 10s of the same setup, my 10s will play 5K no problem. So I'm sure these will actually play a little bit higher than that. But that should be without very much of a roll off right there. And 84 dB is great. Or 84 hertz to 5K is great. That's the territory. 2.5-inch voice coil. You know, I mean, it's a solid driver. Very, very solid driver. $60 a piece. I mean, come on, guys. Now, while I'm over here, I'm going to show you something else. Look at this. This Stu is in the house. I saw him speak up. Stu's Custom Shop. This is what he's doing right now. I'm hoping he wants me to put this on the show because I'm going to. Anytime you send me anything, Stu, and you don't want it on the show, be sure you tell me that. If not, we're going to put it on there. So this is the dual alternator setup he just did on this truck. This big project. And that looks really pro. Look at that wiring. Yeah, baby. Make it look like it was bought that way. That's what Stu does, guys. If you can get him to do something for you, because he's being stingy with his time these days. Nice setup. All the hard flex, that hard wire cover, I like it. It looks real good in the engine bay. It belongs there. I'm not sure what he's with the picture of here. Looks an awful lot like my engine bay. I mean, the truck. And I'm sure it is. There's a Duracell. I was going to say there's a picture in here of that's the actual specs on those alternators. There's one picture in here, maybe back just a little ways further. Yeah, there's the brackets, the dual alt brackets. Look how solid those things are. Those are chunky boys. And that comes straight from McMahon. He bought the alternator and the brackets and everything, alternators and brackets all at the same time. And those are pretty much the same brackets that GP sells on their website, probably the same brackets. But they are definitely not your eBay freaking alternator brackets. These are serious. I mean, those things are, you could pick the whole truck up with those things. Those are solid. But yeah. Oh, and before I finish the laundry, I got to show you guys something else. So um, we have an event coming up. I'm going to show you guys that, so we can get that going. Um, and this is the event flyer. And if you guys are in the Missouri area, this will be one hell of a show. There's going to be some really good stuff going on there. So this is on May the 9th this year from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. standard subwoofer hours at Frankie and Louie's Sunrise in Sunrise Beach, Missouri. That's north of Springfield and west of St. Louis. So ballparkish number there. There's an address here. You guys can be sure, and I can't copy that because it's an image, but you guys can jot down that address. If you want information about it, you can contact Eagle Designs or Frankie and Louie's right there. Eagle Designs, aka Dustin, the mad scientist, the guy that helped me design the enclosure in the Tahoe. And here's the really cool parts. So the competition event was a special class to benefit West Side Shop with a Hero. This is really cool. So the charity class is fun. Have you ever been pulled over behind a cop? You know, when you turn your system down real quick? Well, what they're going to do is, you can read this. What they're going to do is they're going to park a police car in front of you. You can, and they're going to put the meter in the car, and then we're going to do a whatever you want to play behind them, however you want to play it, whatever. But you're going to be right behind the cop car, and they're going to meter everybody from inside the cop car and see what dB you can hit inside the cop car. And that winner, that's a $20 or $25, depending. 20, yes, $25 to enter that class. But that first place gets a trophy and a set of Audio Ace mids. Second through fourth place gets trophies. And then, of course, there's food and drinks and normal stuff for trophies. You guys, if you want, I'm going to be there. So if you guys want to meet up with me, hang out with the guys in Team Savage Sounds, Bay Harbor Butcher Audio, Broken Silence, any of these guys, if you want to meet the Audio Ace people and check them out, Team 417, Sunrise, Peach Police are going to be there. It's going to be a really cool event. So if you guys want to check that out, that is a thing that you can do. And I just wanted to cover that. I told my friend I would tell you guys about it. And that's going to be sponsored, I think, primarily by Bay Harbor Butcher Audio. Again, the mad scientist is bringing that. And then Team Savage Sounds is actually going to be a after party sponsor for the finals this year, Midwest SPL finals. It's going to be in Lebanon, Missouri. And I will be there also, as well as all the local shows, you know, the normal affair. Let's see what's going on in the chat thingamajigger. All right, let's see here. First. You guys are arguing over who's first. Madball Baby said, let's get it, fam. Maryland in the house. Hell yeah, man. Hopefully the weather's doing right up that way. I think the winter's ending early this year. I know the groundhog didn't see a shadow, but, screw him. He don't know what he's talking about. We got probably one more good cold snap coming at some point, but I'm feeling good about this being an early spring. Let's see here. Switched to MJ. Oh, yeah, but it doesn't have nicotine in it. And, there may come a point where I am, visiting MJ a little bit, but I haven't since I was like 15 years old. Different reasons, but yeah. But there's no nicotine in it, so that kind of runs that. My boss said, open your other eye. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I can see the chat. Good. Okay. It's not showing up on my end for some stupid reason. I don't know why, but if you guys can see it, that's cool. We're talking about the 8s, man. They're serious, right? Here's the thing, Jason. If you hear these drivers, now I haven't played these. I've played the 10s, but if you hear them in person, it kind of melts your brain how good they sound. You expect them to be loud, and they absolutely will get down in the loud department. But what you don't expect is for them to sound good, and they sound really good. Even at very low volume, they just have the sweet, nice roll off, very flat curve. They're really, really good drivers. I'm impressed with them. Um, and I'm hoping I can use them in the doors of my Chrysler 300. There's 6x9s in there now. I don't want to modify them too much to make them work. Um, I'm more concerned about that big ass magnet and that motor and how deep that frame is. I forgot what the actual specs are, but it's got to fit between the inside door card, right, and the window mechanism and window. There's set amount of room in there, and if I can get them to fit in between those two things, then I'll use enough of a plate to move them forward or backward so that they're in the right spot, and we'll make them happen. Which I really hope they work, because they're going to absolutely cook any 6x9 I put in there. Cook it, and at low power, I'll cut them off way down lower. I can play 40 or 50 hertz with them easy, as long as you're not trying to push the maximum amount of power they can handle. They will absolutely reproduce subwoofer frequencies at low power. And in those front doors, when I get done deadening them, and you guys, I got a video coming up. I'm going to get uploaded probably sometime late tonight, where I'm finishing up the wiring on the. You'll see, it's a pretty good video. It'll be a pretty good video. But anyway, I got a lot of stuff happening, and just a lot of stuff. That's beefy, Mr. Boom said. Oh yeah, and I'm a big fan of Slaps Audio, guys. If you're trying to be inexpensive, get shit done, have it sound good, work good, be consistent, and still pay ridiculously low prices, there just isn't many options that are as good or better than Slaps. I mean, yes, you can order these drivers yourself from China, but you're going to be paying import duties. You're going to be paying possibly tariff payments to get through that. You're going to be paying a lot more stuff on top of the price. And then you've got to warranty them to China, right? And if you buy them from Slaps, he's covering all that. You're paying a little more than you'd pay if you bought it straight from the Chinese sites. You're also getting a good solid design, and you're getting the support and the warranty of everything. And all that stuff is a big deal. So, yes. Just being perfectly transparent about that. Yeah, Stu said, share away. Mine is dirty. It's a hybrid, so no alternator. Yeah, well, we got to have them kind too out there in the world. All them hybrid weird DC to DC converter things. It's like when it comes to a hybrid or an electric car, in one way, like if you're doing an SQ system, it's brilliant because you got all the power, right? It's all the power. But the problem is the system that converts that big old bank's power down to 12 volts ish, so you can run 12 volt electronics. Getting that to produce enough amperage to run a big system, this doesn't really work. So you have to do weird things with those cars. You've got an infinite supply of power, but turning it into usable power is where the problem comes in for big systems. It can be done. It pretty much all avoids your warranty, though. Stu's easy to install. Talking about those brackets. Yeah. They really ain't bad at all. Puller for the power steering pump. I didn't have to do that. It took me a total of 100 minutes to do the alternator install. 100 minutes. Only an engineer talks in minutes. What's up, Digging Low? Uh, let's see here. But if he switches, if he switches, if he just randomly says, dude, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I have an adapter here that will work to make those 6x9s to an 8 inch. Yeah, we talked about that. The problem is, it would basically require so essentially you got a 6x9 hole that's not a 6x9 hole. Um, that's the other problem. I thought I had one of those pulled up. I wanted to show you guys where it's at, though. I do not know. I wanted to show y'all. Shush! I don't know where it went. Anyway, it's crazy, man. My life is just like this all the time. Um, the hole is shaped kind of like a spade, like on a card. It's shaped kind of like that. And then there's a bracket that actually makes a 6x9 fit in that weird hole. Um, so we have to worry about that hole to an 8. And so, like, there's just multiple things. So, what my idea is to do is to take the bracket that comes on the 6x9s, draw that out, right, to get that base shape, and then use a ring or draw around the speaker that's going to go in there, and then create both of those two things, the speaker cutout and the door cutout, right, and then put them together to make a converter, and then lots of sanding. Um, and doing this out of plywood because MDF and water, they just don't like each other. Plywood's the same problem, but not as bad. And those doors, from what I can tell, they will stay fairly dry on the inside. And this will all be located inside the cabin, like the sheet metal. And then this will be located between the sheet metal and the door card, the adapter that I'm going to make. Of course, I could, like 3D print it or something, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that's the idea that I've got to make them. I just got to actually make that shit happen that I just said, which was a lot. Um, so, the something I wanted to talk about a little bit on the show, and I know you guys are bored at this point, and I'm sorry, because life is boring. It has come to my attention that there are those out there who feel like I am representing myself as an expert on car audio. And I do not, I absolutely have no intention of doing that. I am a car audio enthusiast. It's in the name, it's right down there. I'm someone who enjoys messing with car audio. I have enjoyed messing with car audio since I was a kid. So I've messed with it a lot. And a lot of people who haven't, they ask me questions because I tend to know the answers. That does not make me an expert in any way, shape, or form, the pro audio guy. I'm not that guy. I'm just your neighbor that's done a little bit more than maybe you have, right? So you may have not run into a problem that I can help you not run into, so forth and so on. Just wanted to make that clear. I am not a car audio expert in any way, shape, or form. I'm just a guy who's bled a lot on stuff and made stuff get loud, right? And sound good. I've done both. Um, so I need questions from you guys because I primarily run this off of questions. If you're not asking me questions, I have no answers. Um, oh, yeah, that's that mountain biking video. I watch weird shit. I watch mountain biking videos. I have a weird eclectic amount of stuff that I watch on YouTube, but I do watch car audio YouTube as well. It's just I'm caught up to everybody. Nobody's making new content. Let's see what we got. That's going to be a good one. Boy, that's going to be a monster. So, Snow's cold. What's up, man? Welcome to the show. Why can't I get my static noise to go away? Power on opposite side. Yeah, yeah. Separated. Placed head unit. Head unit is grounded to lithium bank in the back. Static is a different problem. Um, okay. Is it static in your subwoofer or static in the whole stereo system? That's the first question. Another thing is, are you using a bass knob? And is it, well, are you using an aftermarket bass knob, like one that you run RCAs into and then back out of? Those are two things I would ask. But static comes from differences in ground. Right, so you have engine noise, which is usually a whine of some sort, a whistle. That is a different problem. But when you get that in the background, usually that kind of thing. Okay. It's usually, if you're hearing that in the subwoofers, it's your aftermarket bass knob. It's caused from a ground differential, and basically you just need to ground your cables some sort of way. The potentiometer, you'll notice that it won't do it when the volume is up, but it will do it when the volume is down, or vice versa. That's the potentiometer in the bass knob causing the ground differential. And you just got to keep playing with that, trying different stuff, because it's kind of a pain. But that's not what he's talking about. Let's see here. Let me go back up. Calvin, what's up, buddy? Okay, I'll get to that in a second. I want to stay on this one first. Some snows. It makes static with the vehicle off only on door speakers. So that means that your problem is in those two channels. It's not doing it. Well, if it was doing it over the tweeters, I don't know what all you have going on. Maybe you have subs and tweeters and door speakers, or maybe it's just subs and door speakers. But that means that particular amplifier has got a ground loop issue. You can try. Some of the stuff you can try is running a ground, is making sure that your ground from going to your battery is also connected to the same ground going to your stereo. And I know it's all supposed to be the same ground, but it typically isn't. A lot of guys doing car audio installs will literally run a power and a ground wire from the same source as their amplifiers to prevent noise. So if you're getting static, a lot of times it's a differential between the ground at the radio and the ground at the amplifier. And if you're using the radio as your amplifier, same problem. You got subwoofers, you got amplifiers, you may have a DSP. All of those things need to have a common ground with a similar amount of ground capacity, like a similar amount of ground resistance. All right. And this is on the edge of my brain can process. So by no means is this the gospel, but that's what I'll be looking at is grounds. And if you've got any kind of extra volume knob, like on a DSP or on a equalizer or anything, those are all potentials for that kind of a thing too. The static is usually a ground differential in the ground loop. So maybe I gave you enough information to at least point you in the right direction. Seriously, I'm no expert either. Calvin, what's up, man? What's up, buddy? I bought a Recool 1200.1. Okay, the red. I got power, but nothing output. Power, but nothing output to sub. I've tried RCA, check grounds. Got power and no output. Okay, if you got power, then that means if the thing is definitely coming on, check your 12 volts at your turn on lead, and of course 12 volts at constant, and check your ground by checking one of your powers with the ground. You should get 12 volts on all those, or whatever the voltage is. If that all checks out and that amp is actually turning on and not just going into protect or something like that, that's why I said check all three of those things, because if it doesn't have a good, like say for instance, if the power wire was disconnected, it could still try to pull power through the remote or pull a ground through an RCA. If your ground isn't connected good, you're actually trying to pull power through an RCA, and that will make the amp turn on sometimes. But you need to check all three of those things. Check all your connections there. The next thing I would look at is put a different pair of RCAs on it. If you're getting, if you are in fact getting power to the amp, if the amp is in fact turning on and not just going straight into protect, then you want to look at your signal wires. And prior to that, I would make sure that the speaker wires aren't shorted out somewhere, because that'll automatically throw an amp into protect most of the time. And also sometimes it won't throw the amp into protect right away, but if you turn the volume up, it will. So check to make sure you don't have any shorts between your speaker wires. Make sure there's no little stray wires jumping across at the amplifier that got stuck over there and kind of touching that screw. Make sure that shit ain't happening. Check your ground connection. Make sure you're actually getting a legit ground, and that thing that you're grounding to is getting a legit ground from the alternator / battery up front. Grounds is a common spot for problems. And then check your RCAs. And if all that happens, and you don't think you've blown a subwoofer, check all that stuff. If you might have blown your sub, and just check your voltage output at your subwoofer with a meter. You should get some AC voltage off of these speaker outputs on the amplifier. Play a test tone, that way it's a steady amount. It kind of gives you an idea of what you're dealing with, Hopefully that was enough to help you. Hank said, have I ever heard horn speakers? Yes, horns are very efficient. So essentially a horn speaker is a speaker with a horn. And you'll notice that my voice gets much, much, much louder whenever I put my hands right here and I create a horn. Okay. And it's simple. It doesn't let the sound go everywhere. It makes it go right here. So when we do that, we all of a sudden have a very good pathway for the sound to get to the microphone. This is also your ear. Okay. The problem with that is, and you can hear it whenever I do that, when I do that demonstration, this is the sound you normally get. We get this sound, we get this sound, we get this sound. But then when you do this and you do the same sound, right? Same voice, you'll notice it changes the way I sound also. And that is the only issue with horn speakers, is it boosts frequencies that normally get scattered. So it sounds different. Now, can you make it work? Yes, you have to DSP them differently. But they're very efficient. They're very, very loud and with very little power. And in certain scenarios, they're the perfect source, the perfect speaker. In other scenarios, they are absolutely not the perfect speaker. If you can aim them in such a way that they're basically pointing toward you mostly, then they're going to be right on the money, because you're not going to get a lot of reflection. You're getting direct sound from the speaker. But if they're off axis to you, then you're going to be listening to pure reflections, because the horn is literally, its job is to make that shit go one way. And the only way you're going to hear it is if it's bouncing off other stuff. So yeah, they can be good in the right scenarios. Absolutely. Big and Low said, I got a good topic. A lot of people are listening to their systems with the phase not set up properly for the applications. Okay. Let me reread that, make sure I'm not missing anything important. A lot of people are listening to their systems with the phase. Okay, so there's a couple of things when it comes to phase. Actually, there's a ginormous shit ton of things. But we're going to focus on two of them. Okay. One of them is having your speakers wired out of phase, or um, having your DSP set up where one driver is out of phase. Both give you the same result. And you lose when phase cancellation happens, you lose lower end, a lot of it. You lose all the bass. Now, when you're DSPing a car, sometimes you will intentionally put a driver out of phase to create a certain sound, to fix a problem or to move the image. So that's a thing. But that's the second one, right? But then there's the second one also has another caveat to it, because where sound waves are doing this, okay, if both speakers are doing this at the same time, when it hits your ears, it gets amplified. But if they're doing this, when it gets to the middle where you are and they're directly out of phase, it literally cancels all that sound. It's the same reason that you wouldn't have a driver without any kind of baffle, because that sound coupling with the back and the front together of the driver cancels out the low frequencies. It doesn't cancel out the high frequencies because they're very, very small. And so they can't make it around to the back of that driver to cancel out. So when you got a big, huge, gigantic thing over here, and you got this thing, a tiny little high-end sound wave coming off the front is way smaller than the trip it takes to get around behind here. So the sound wave from the back will just kind of go, and the sound wave from the front will go. But a lower frequency sound wave, its hump is actually big enough that the two of them can connect together and cancel each other out, which is why you get cancellation. And if you put a little bit of a baffle on this, so you put like a 3 or 4 inch lip coming out, you would actually get more low end out of it anyway, because those frequencies couldn't couple from the back to the front. If you put an infinite baffle on, then all the frequencies get to the front. That's what a sealed enclosure is, or an infinite baffle with a wall that separates the back from the front. But it'll only work. It's only going to separate the sound waves as long as the sound waves that are trying to get from the back to front, or vice versa, are shorter, higher pitch than the distance it is to get there. So when a guy in an infinite baffle car, for example, once you roll your window down, now the distance from your window to the subwoofer in the front, which is inside the car, and of course outside, it's inside outside infinite baffle, but the distance becomes however long the wavelength is that gets to your window. It's going to get canceled if it's long enough to get in the window and meet up. So opening your window literally creates a low pass, or technically a high pass filter for your subwoofer on an infinite baffle car. Now, understanding all of this shit is relevant. The other thing is frequency cancellation along the bandwidth. So if you got these two drivers that are in phase, right? But here's the thing, they're not dead center. You're not dead center of these drivers. You're sitting way over here. One driver is, 5 feet away. The other one's 2 feet away. So what happens, even though they're in phase, when they get to your head, they're not. One of them might be out. And then you end up getting what we call a null. It's real common to get like a 200 hertz null in the driver's side because of these issues. And it's because this speaker's wavelength and this speaker's wavelength are doing this. So you can go into the DSP and switch phase on one speaker, even though it's out of phase now. When it gets to your ear, it'll sound like it is. Then there's also notch filters, where you can have a speaker or a channel that goes out of phase at a certain frequency and then goes back into phase at a certain point. So that's a notch filter, and you can have the driver be out of phase for one frequency range and then back into phase for the rest of it. You can even put multiple notch filters on. But I don't want to dive too awful deep into that. But yes, phasing is a big deal. And if you're hearing a null, like I say, you have a 200 hertz null, which means you can't get 200 hertz to reproduce accurately on your RTA, right? You're sitting there looking at the graph, you're cranking up 200 hertz, and it just does not go up. That's because you've got a null. And it's because the drivers involved in that are out of phase at the point where you're measuring, which should be your head or close to it. And you may have to switch them out of phase to fix that problem or do something else entirely. But yeah, phasing issues is a big deal. And it gets way worse. I just gave you like this much, tiny little bit. There's a lot more to it. Snow says, yeah, we covered that. Unless there's something new, we'll keep our eyes open. Could be a bad amp. Could be. Folded horn subwoofers. Folded bass horn subwoofers. I am not knowledgeable enough to really get deep into folded horns. I barely understand T-lines, which is not the same thing. I have not dug into folded horns or horns. A folded horn is just a horn, regardless. However, I will say this. It works the same way this does, just with bass. As far as why it works that way specifically, I do not know. It will amplify, the horn on a subwoofer will amplify it in the direction that it's pointed and null it all the way around everywhere else. So it creates a projected bass, essentially, like a bass cannon. But whenever you need to put all of that horn in a small space, it becomes folded, which is where the term folded horn comes from. And a lot of really, really awesome audio engineers and other electrical engineers and other guys work hard to design brilliant folded horn cabinets for venues and stuff. I don't equal the hair on any of their asses. Not even close. I appreciate what they do, but I damn sure can't delve into what they do. Corley says, I'm about to throw 2 6.5s in a 6x9 box that I have. I've cut the new fronts. I just need to mount it all together. There are 6.5 Pro audio speakers. Do you think they will sound okay on those boxes? If they're those little 6x9 boxes that you buy off of Amazon that like barely fit the speaker, right? Little wedge shaped guys with gray carpet on them. They're not gonna have any low end response. I mean, like none. But you're looking at like a 200 hertz, 150 hertz, and up kind of a situation. The mids will be great. The mids will be fine if you're looking for mids. But if you're trying to actually get bass out of them, you're going to need a lot bigger enclosure, like a significantly larger enclosure. Same with the 6x9 you took out of that thing. If you put it in a larger enclosure, it would sound really, really good. As long as you don't overpower it, you know. Whenever you step up your enclosure size, you increase the efficiency of the driver, meaning it wants to move. It resists movement less. Okay. So it doesn't take nearly as much power to get the driver to move. In some cases, you can overwhelm the mechanical ability for that driver to stay linear and work by putting it in an oversized enclosure. So bear in mind that if you do decide to do that, you're going to want to creep up on the power. And you may also want to put a high pass filter on it to filter out subsonic frequencies as much as you can, because you'll overexcurge your driver. But in a small box, they'll sound good, but they're not going to have any bass. If you're putting them with a subwoofer, though, you'll be golden, be juicy. He's talking about Calvin. Okay. I would check the speaker leads to the amp. Yep. Make sure they're reading correctly. If they are, use your phone with an aux cable directly into the amp. You can do that. I usually just run out with an extra aux cable and connect it. Thank you. Yeah, Stu's advice is solid. Absolutely. Hey, man, no problem, Snows. Prefer recording. I prefer recorded screeching tracks of internet dial-up on my morning commute. Well, you just aged yourself. Just saying. Um, yeah. Well, why not? Let's do it. I have a an '04 Silverado. Do you think I can fit super tweeters in the spot factory tweeters were in the door? An '05. Maybe. You may end up having to create a plate to raise them up a quarter inch or so. I don't really have it in my head exactly the '05 doors. It's possible though. It's possible. It sounds like it's possible if I'm remembering the way that thickness of that door looks. But you can always put a ring behind it and space them out a little bit and get a little extra clearance if you need it. Clearance. But yeah, uh, gonna be bad. Close. Yep. Yeah, that's probably good advice. Uh, yo, CA in chat. What's up, man? Glad you're here. Uh, Grounds are definitely overlooked a lot. Yes. Everything going in has to come back out. 100%, bro. I was just talking to my buddy Troy about this tonight. I was asking him about his grounds. I wasn't there whenever a lot of this stuff was set up, so I'm having to ask questions. And I kind of puzzled him with my questions. After he thought about it, he's like, he saw what I was getting at. But he needs a better ground support. He's grounding to the engine, right? Grounding from the engine to the battery, all that stuff. That's all good. He's grounding to the frame. He said the frame. I'm guessing he meant the body in the back for alternator run from the front. He's grounding to the engine, grounding from the engine to the body, and he's grounding from the body in the back to his batteries, which is fine as long as all those pinch welds and stuff and the little tacks and they're holding the body together are all solid. I ended up running 2 runs of double alt gauge welding wire front to back to make sure that I had the grounds to support the 680 amps that I was actually carrying across those wires from my alternator to the back. I want to make sure I had enough pathway, positive and negative, to carry that current. So yeah, I just had to do a thing. And we're probably going to wind up doing the thing on Troy's car, except he's not pulling nowhere near that much current. He's probably pulling less than half of that. He has got a high output alternator though. Came up on some Scar EVLs with box, traded 2 Gothic 12s, $200. Scar EVLs, I'm going to tell you, they're kind of an interesting subwoofer. They're kind of like the Tesla truck. Nobody thinks they're okay. Everybody either thinks they're amazing sauce or they're horrible. So depending on who you ask, you're going to get different answers. I personally don't have any experience with them. I'm pretty sure they'll handle power better than those Gothics. And you traded, I don't know whether or not those were 15s or for 12s or what. But yeah, I'd say you probably came up a little bit on that trade. Probably come up pretty good. I don't know if you came up $200 good. But I would say that's probably not a terrible trade. You probably come across pretty close. Provided they hadn't been tortured to the point where they don't work anymore. That's the thing. It's more about the enclosure. If you're using the box, if you were running those Gothic subs, you're probably using that box probably was also on that level, and you probably not tuned right for those subs, so you may or may not get good response out of them. If you don't, and if they sound like they don't have no bass or whatever, it's the box. The box needs to be worked on. New box, basically. So I need to know more information, but I'm just saying if that's the case, then that would be the first thing that you want to go after is the box, because the box would be a very likely culprit. Triple check the grounds. When it comes to checking those connections, if you do the thing is, if you miss something, you will typically miss it over and over again. If you're following the same process to check it, you'll miss it every single time. You'll miss the thing. So there's ways to measure, of course, resistance across all the grounds from point A to point B and such. But what I would recommend is starting from the other end that you never start from and following the grounds all the way from point A to point B, or from point B to point A. Going backwards will make your brain have to think about what you're doing again, and actually make your brain pay attention to what you're seeing. Because a lot of times, if you've repeated the same process, it's become a habit, and you're just going to overlook the same thing over and over. I know, because I'm an idiot. That's how I live. Dubby, what's up, Dubby? Subaru STI, hell yeah, man. You guys are awesome. Kevin, man, yeah, I hope that works out. Yeah. Correct speaker out of polarity will give you a phase issue. Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah, would absolutely get a phase issue if you're not, if they're out of polarity. But again, sometimes having it out of polarity will make the phase align at your head. For example, one of the things I do whenever I'm going to do a tune in a car, if I'm doing an SQ tune, one of the first things I do is once I flatten the EQ to the point to where it's ish flat, not like dead flat, but like no big humps or any soft spots. I then switch one of the front speakers out of phase with the other one. And sometimes that will still net you good bass and will just snap the image right over in front of you. Before I do time alignment, I'll try switching the phase on those two drivers. And oftentimes by pulling the passenger side one out of phase with the driver's side, the image goes from here to here, just bam. And you can also hear the change in bass response. As long as you're not losing any of your low end frequency response and your image moves, then you're golden. So yeah, we use phasing a lot to tweak and tune a vehicle. And so does factory systems. They use phasing and notch filters and all that stuff. Yes. Noise cancellation headphones. That's exactly how noise cancellation anything works. It takes the background sound that, in the case of noise canceling headphones, okay, it listens for that ambient noise that that's going on, right? Whatever that is, and it plays that back in reverse in your ear. So what you're hearing is the opposite of the outside noise in your ear. You're hearing that same exact noise, but reversed, polarity shifted. And then it makes the noise just go away. It doesn't exist anymore. Same concept. Yes, you're absolutely correct. All right. Melissa Thompson, what's up, man? T. Corley, if you're 04 show, okay, this is the tweeter thing. Isn't Bose and the tweeters are in the door behind the mesh grill, the tweeter will fit fine at 1.8 inches deep. I can't confirm nor deny that, but I do appreciate you guys. I love how you guys always want to help everybody. That's why it's called Car Audio Enthusiasts. There's an S. This is a group channel, and you guys help each other, and I love it. I love seeing that. What's up, Corn Nut? Got to get that gold horn with the 1 degree increments. Go. I don't know. He's either talking about a tweeter that can be aimed, or I don't know. Oh yeah, that's the other thing in a DSP. The really extreme ones, you can actually adjust the phase on a potentiometer. You can adjust it variably, not just flip it completely out, but like tweak it. And so you can think of the sound wave as a spring, right? And the spring starts off at a really small gaps, and then as it goes down, it gets bigger, like a progressive spring. And that spring is lined up at your ear, and when you push it this direction, the gaps start getting bigger, right? Well, you got 2 springs. One of them is way over here, one of them is shorter. You want the frequency band that you're looking for, right? Whatever that frequency is, you want those 2 to intersect at your head and have the same amount of gap between those two little coils, right? Right at your head. Now, over here, it's not going to be that way. Over here, it's not going to be that way. But right here, it is. And sometimes just moving the whole spring, which time alignment, right? Moving the whole spring changes it. You're not just fixing it so that the sound hits your ear at the same time. You're also fixing it so that the sound wave matches up at your head, right? So you're getting no cancellation. If you don't, time alignment can fix cancellation too. But sometimes you can also just turn the spring around, right? So that the bigger part is here and the bigger part is here, and you can get the same effect at one specific point. Now, when you lean left or right, you're going to screw it up. But that's the point. And SQ is a crazy place to live. Digging Low said, "Hey, Melissa. Ever talking bows in the A pillar? That's not happening. No, you can't put those things in an A pillar. No. That's definitely not happening." But he said the doors, so I'm not sure. Can you run? I believe Melissa. Yeah, Melissa called me out on something. Knowledgeable person. I'm assuming Melissa's a female. Could be a male on a wife's account, but I'm assuming Miss Melissa's a female. Either way, Melissa is very knowledgeable. I will acknowledge that. Can you run tweeters with reverse polarity? Honestly, no. When you go to getting up into like 5K and up range, you're not going to hear them being out of phase. The frequencies are so close together that even you moving your head slightly like this changes it. It's just not going to be noticeable. You only really notice phasing issues, like down in the lower range, as far as losing output. Most of the vocal range, pretty much everything in the vocal range. And then below that, of course, way down low, you can lose all your bass. Stu, and again, I'm not sure what he's talking about. Those frequencies will work more on timing. Yeah, exactly. He said what I said. Snow said, are 3.4 ohm speakers going to work on a 4-channel that's 2 ohm stable per channel? So 4 ohm bridged. No. Okay. So if your amp is stable at 4 ohms per channel, 2 ohms per channel, or 4 ohm bridged. I am so confused. Let me reread this. I think I know what you're asking, but I want to make sure. 2 ohms stable per channel, so 4 ohm bridged. I'll be running them bridged, so 1.7 ohm static per channel. I don't know where the 1.7 ohms is coming in. I get a 3.4 ohm speaker is a 4 ohm speaker. Just consider that. If it's anything, less than half a decimal, like 5 and up is 4 ohms, 5 and below is 3 ohms, so forth and so on. So a 4 ohm speaker on a 4 channel that's 2 ohm stable, bridge to 4 ohms, that would work. What I don't understand is 1.7 ohms static. That would be considered 2 ohms. Yeah, I'm confused on that one. It's like two separate things that I'm mixing up there. Couldn't find color codes. Melissa, in a 6x9 box, you'll get mid-range but not bass. Correct. You can polyfill it, but you probably won't do much. Absolutely. I agree with that. Pro 6.5s don't play much below 150 anyways, or shouldn't do that at least, right? And we do crazy stuff in this world. I have a little pair of Sundown 2.75s that are like basically a tweeter with a little low end. They call it a middler. And I have put full range on them and put them in a T-line and had them playing like 30 hertz with authority. So yeah, we do weird shit, but that doesn't mean you should. Yeah, listen to Stu. Stu's caught up. Snow's cold. Amp is 2 ohm stereo. 4 ohm bridge stable. You're going to have to have the net smoking hot. There you go. Finally caught alive. What's up? Oh, Mark. I run 2 EVLs, 10s down 4 or D4, down to 1 ohm, and F150. Okay, 2 subs at 1 ohm. Great for heavy metal, rock, even hip hop. Yeah, if you oh, they're talking about the EVLs. Okay. Like I said, when it comes to the EVL driver, it's 100% this way or this way. Nobody's in the middle. It's like, I don't know. People love them and people hate them. What components am I doing up front? Yeah, it's a good question, brother. I don't know. I just don't know. If I can make these things fit, I'm going to use these 8s in the doors. As far as the dash speakers, I'm probably going to start out with a coaxial or possibly those Sundown 2.75s and just see what they sound like. I'm not going to use an actual component set, most likely, but that is a possibility. So if I can't get the 8s to work, I'm going to wind up going to 6x9s. If I have to use anything besides the slaps, I'm going to run 6x9s. And I might end up running Audio Dynamic. There's 2 different ones I was looking at. They got the 1000 series, and then they got the 3000 series. For some reason, they don't have a 2000 series 6x9. I don't make them. I just look at them. Anyway, they have a component set that can go with that too. There's that's a pricey side of it. So, trying to keep this at a budget. So I don't know. I'm kind of lost, but hopefully I can get these 8s to work. I'll have to wait and see. Most likely, I'm going to construct a component set. I'm not going to actually run a off-the-shelf component set. Most likely. Though it is possible. What's up, Joseph? What's up, man? Midwest and being a professional installer since 1997. There you go. More Silverados, Tahoes, etc. than I care to remember. Good times. Hell yeah, that's some creds. Omar said, how are you, Joseph? Chevy country down here as well. Probably 70% of what I work on. Yeah, well, I'd rather work on Ford's door panels, though. I like taking their door panels off. They're so much easier to remove than Chevys and stuff. Oh, okay, got you, Stu. Thank you. I was not sure what that was. Not familiar with everything. Uh, oh, okay. So I was right about that. That's what got me. I was right about that. I just didn't know about this DSP. 1 degree phase increments. Yes. Um, yeah. There's only a 0 to 80. So yeah, it's either this or it's that. You don't get anything in between. And that's actually some pretty healthy DSP tricks to be able to do those, adjustable phase like that. Oh, yeah. I understand. But what I was saying is just thinking whole numbers. You're an engineer, obviously. You probably measured this shit with a micrometer because that's how you roll, and I get it. But ohm loads, static ohm loads are going to be, they're never going to be exactly what they say they are. They're going to be close-ish. And it just makes me confused. Too many decibels confuses my stupid meat brain. Two pairs of speakers down to 1.7 and bridging them isn't going to work unless you run in series. If it's a single pair, 3.4 ohms, I wouldn't worry. Okay. Snow. Okay. Yeah. See, I didn't answer all the right questions. My people are asking the right questions. 2 amps, 2 speakers per amp. Okay. If it's just one pair, then you'd be fine. Amps don't see half of the ohm load, right? I'm reading all this stuff that you guys are writing, so bear with me. Stu said if I was only using 2 speakers, 4 ohms each, then bridging the amp will be fine. All right. Melissa. All right, here's one. I see what you put in there, Stu. Give me a second. Red Pill says, have you ever put a mid in the dash of an 07 to 13 Silverado Sierra? Well, here's the thing about dash mids and dash tweeters. It's a bit like shooting pool. All right. The windshield becomes a hard surface which is going to reflect sound. And sometimes when you put speakers there and use that windshield to reflect that sound back to you, sometimes you hit the honey spot and it sounds amazing. Other times it sounds like complete shit. The sucky part is it's very difficult to figure out which one you're going to get before you try it. However, it's not impossible. I've found that when I'm screwing around with ideas like that, using a set of computer speakers, just the little subwoofer and a couple of little drivers that you set on your desk. If you got a set that allows you to do Bluetooth and you got an extension cord, run the thing out to your car, set the speakers up on your dash, fire them up, fire them forward, fire them sideways, play with that. You'll be amazed at the information you can glean by experimenting with a set of computer speakers on your dash. And honestly, I could tell you this is going to be awesome or it's going to suck, and then it turn around and be the opposite. Because like I said, you don't know. And then even if you got the same exact windshield, right, and you move the driver in and out, that's going to change everything. So even if I had heard 5 vehicles done similar to this and they all sounded amazing, and then you put your drivers a little more forward or backwards of those positions, it would change everything and it would still not work. So pay attention to all those details. Get your engineering thing out. Put your speaker up there, make little marks, use like a piece of tape, some masking tape, make little marks at where things sound so that you can write it down on a paper and there's a reference guide and figure out where it worked and where it didn't. Shit like that. That's going to be the jam. And Stu wants me to look at these 6x9s from Karma. 6x9 mid bass. I've seen, I want to check them out. Hang on a second. Bear with me. I'm all about it. See what I can find. Okay. Those look really, really similar. Oh, that's very nice. All right, hang on. Let me point you guys. Let y'all play along at home so you don't want to be left out of the loop here. But I am experiencing this. This is a straight up mid bass, no tweeter involved. No tweeters were harmed in the making of this mid bass. I like the way it looks. But just to be clear with you, Stu, what I don't want to do is install this. And they may have one also that has a tweeter. I want to actually have full range coming from the doors. I'm one of those that likes multiple tweeters on each side, not just one. So yeah, I'm weird, but that's how I roll. I like to hear, I don't like the muffled sound coming from one area. I like to get a full range coming from there. Personal preference. That said, okay, this looks like an absolutely sick 6x9. Really looks good. It's a woofer. So yeah, that is cool. That's very, very cool. That is an annoying thing. And when I hit the features, that pops up. That's awesome. And that pops up again. Okay, all right. That's annoying. Product description. Maybe it's in here anyway. Nope, we're down to there. So this is not important. What I'd like to know is specs. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, we have to download them. What's up with that? Sheesh. Come on. I do like the way that driver looks though. But it doesn't have a tweeter. I know. Man, I'm just saying that's how I roll. I like the sound of my mids and highs coming from the same locations, and I just make multiple locations. I tend to prefer that. It's not book, not textbook, not even close. But yeah. Good looking driver though. Thank you for pointing that out. I'll keep that in mind because I'm not going to rule that out. I can always put a tweeter in the door down there beside it. So, but I'm definitely not going to rule that out. That's nice. Hey, Red, what's up? Passive radiator, man. Yeah, I'm considering some of that too. Lots and lots of the subwoofer thing is the thing that's really kind of ghosting me right now. I haven't decided on, but I've got some ideas. You want to see one of my ideas? I'll show you one. Hang on. Let me see here. Okay. All right. We're going to look at this. Now, these guys, they got multiples. You can get multiples and stuff. But the cool thing is, see how the back of this is made? This is facing the rear of the car, right? And it follows the contours of that trunk, these little humps right here and everything. So a forward firing setup with that hump. But, and their price isn't bad on them either. $269. The box looks like it's 3/4 inch with a double baffle front. The only thing I don't think that I would like about it is the tuning, because it looks to me like this is an awfully short port right here. And this is for a 12, so that's like a 4-inch port. That distance long, that thing's going to be tuned at like 1,000,000 hertz. But it's more about the idea that's cooking, because I can absolutely build this. And the idea, the concept, may work for me, but I'd have to do several things. One, I have to build something like what you just saw, but then I also want to make the inside part seal off to the back of stuff. I want it to be sealed off. I don't want to look back with the seats down and see what looks like a box sitting in the middle, right? I want it sealed off so it's more like a wall. Yeah, I know. I'm all over the place on this. Uh, just keeps going. Resistance and impedance are two different things. Yes. You have to pull the whole top dash out to do it. Yep, that sounds painful. Not a ton of depth behind this strip in front of the windshield. I'm planning on doing some 2.75s. The boss's son's Yukon, probably to make some pods. Yeah, I had, as an example, I had a Ford Ranger. It was like I don't remember the year model, mid to late 90s, I think. Had 8 spark plugs on the 4-cylinder engine. That'll help you guys know what the hell it was. I had tweeters. I had actually had a whole earthquake system in there, and I had the tweeters mounted in the little strip. There's a little strip of plastic that runs across in front of the windshield. You can pull that out, and then we cut holes and put the tweeters in there, put it back in, right up at the glass. It just so happened that I nailed that. It was just pure coincidence. And the sound in that truck was unbelievably good. I mean, it really kicked ass. But I hit that sweet spot, the honey spot with the right angle of everything and the right distances and all that. And it just turned into one really good sounding little truck. So yeah, I already had my mids and tweets and pause. Was just wondering if there was something better out there install wise. Swap the custom speaker pods. Yeah, I have self-made ones. Cool. 6x9s were very popular in the 90s. Okay, what happened to 6x9s? Well, it's easy. They were, okay. There were so many manufacturers making complete junk 6x9 speakers. So everyone was like, 6x9s suck, because all the 6x9s that they were introduced to did, in fact, suck. The factory 6x9 sucked. The crap that they bought at Walmart also sucked. And then people were like, we're going to make you some really cool speakers that can go in those places. And they're really good quality speakers. Even though they had less cone area, they still sounded amazing. 6.5, come in. Step in. 6x9 plate to a 6.5. It wasn't, this is my opinion, by the way. This is my opinion. It wasn't so much that the 6.5 sounded better as a speaker, but that the quality of the speaker for those 6.5s was superior to the quality of the construction of the 6x9s they were comparing them to. So as we move forward into modern times, that same mentality is still in their heads, even though the quality of 6x9s that you can get today is equal to the 6.5 and has much more cone area. I believe it has more cone area than 2 6.5s, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that. You let me know if I'm wrong. Somebody out there is already punching it up and doing the math. I like a by 9. By 9s make bass better. Boom, boom. The 6x9 isn't fitting the door panel. The door panel comes with a 6x9. That's literally what comes in it. But you may be talking about the 8-inch. But yeah, it actually comes with 4 6x9s in the car already. But putting in 8 is a different story. And yeah, it's going to require some fabbing. If I can determine that there's enough room between the mechanism and the inner door card to make it happen, at that point, then I will probably jump in the water and start making it happen. But once I determine that it isn't enough room, there can't be, then we'll have to go a different route. I don't know, man. We'll have to wait and see. If I can make them fit and sound dead and all of the shit right out of them to where they're just super clean, super rigid, uh, no vibrations, they'll sound good. Kenwoods barely fit those 300s. Oh, yeah. But is that with the adapter and plate installed? Because that adapter plate's got a restriction. It's got that little curve part that comes around behind the speaker. Um, and I wouldn't be using that. So you're probably right, though. I mean, inevitably, you're probably right. This is why I have multiple different possible plans, because I already know that's going to be a struggle. I mean, those things are huge. Um, I've done kicker, CS, and KS, and yeah, yeah, that's what I was talking about. Those little brackets. Bobby said, "Yo, what's up, Bobby B? About damn time." Um, I'm not really sure. I can't speak on that with any. I just can't speak on that yet. I haven't dug into them deep enough to be able to get into that. But you guys can talk about it. Okay. I'm reading Stu's comment. Craco or Sparkomatic? I was more of a Sparkomatic guy. But yeah, I mean, it's funny. At the time, um, the inexpensive car audio equipment was made in Japan. And everyone was like, "Oh, that's Japanese crap, right? It's Japanese junk. You buy an American radio." Uh, that was the thing. And then at some point in time, that completely shifted, right? To where Japanese stuff is awesome and Korean stuff is awesome and Chinese stuff is junk. The fact is, though, it never was true. None of that was ever true. Um, Pretty much every single thing that you can buy today is made in China. That Pioneer, that Kenwood, that all those different fancy stuff that you can, they're all made in the same places. They're made in China. Everything comes from China. We don't make electronics in the United States. We assemble things to a degree, but most of it comes from China. You know, it's more about what features it comes with, how it's constructed, how good the stuff is that goes into it. Those are the important things when it comes to equipment, not where it's assembled or where it's created or what breed of person created it. It has to do with what they made and how well it was put together. And like every vehicle on the road is running, pretty much probably 95% of the electronics. And that means a whole lot of stuff in your vehicle comes from China. All the parts come from China. China shuts down, we shut down. Done. Pioneer 8 ways. I never had the 8 ways. I had some that were like 4 ways with like a tweeter and 2 little tweeters and a little mid range. They screamed at you. Yeah. Screamers, man. I'm thinking of trying Trinity subs. You won't go wrong with Trinity subs. I've got a couple of friends that are running Trinities and pushing them really hard, and they've had great luck with them. But I would stack up the Slaps Audio Smackdowns against them, no problem, and at less money. I'm not saying that Trinity is a bad sub. They're definitely not. There's some really good subs, and probably the Trinity, like the H series, is a step up above Smackdown. And if you've got the ability to build the right enclosure and give them the right amount of power to get them, you can get that little bit of performance out of them extra over the Smackdowns. But you're going to pay quite a bit more money for them. And I don't know about their longevity over a long period of time. My buddy Richard's been running some in a van though, and he's one of those guys that just likes to murder shit. Like if it starts smoking, he don't turn it down. He just lets it rip. You know, he's hard, man. He goes hard. I got into his van once to get a demo. He'd been demoing like we were doing demo competition where everybody was just letting it rip. It was loud as shit out there. And I jumped in his van and I could feel it. Felt like a damn electric heater was behind my head, blowing heat on my head. It was just the heat coming off the voice coils of his subs. And it was obnoxiously hot air hitting me in the back of the head. I can only imagine what the temperature of those voice coils was. And he was letting it fly. So, yeah, I mean, good sub. Our rule at the shop is if you're spending around $349 or less, it's a stock 6x9 and a mid-range in the dash. It's Kenwood Exelon. If above that price, we're building an adapter and using 6.5s. But, and I get it. Me personally, though, here's my thing. Like I said, this is just for me, not for someone else that I was trying to help. I would rather have a mid-level 6x9 as a high-end 6.5 when it comes to door speakers. Because I'm really a big fan of having a lot of good, solid mid-bass in the front stage. I want to have a ton of mid-bass in the front stage. And no matter how good the 6.5 is, it's only going to be capable of so much mid-bass. It's just cone limited, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I get that. And here's the thing, running a business and building for customers is a completely different game than building for yourself. Because with a customer, you're building for what you think they probably want. And you're probably right. But when you're building for yourself, you know exactly what you want. And you're right because it's what you want, not what everybody else wants. So it's a different kind of a metric. And then also you have to factor in if you're building, if you're using your vehicle that you're building as an advertisement platform. In my case, I do. So that factors in a lot of things as well. And I agree. But I can show you one option you might want to check out. Bear with me just a second. I've been running their equipment for a while and I'm very happy with it. So I will show you an option in that department. So let me switch back over here. This is at Audio Dynamics' website. And they got two different ones here. They got the 1000 series of the tweeter. And these are selling for $139. And they are a great sounding speaker. I've heard both of these, by the way. And this is the 3000 series. They're selling for $300. Of course, they also have the steel adapter plates. If you're looking for those, these are the jam for 6x9 to 6.5 adapter plates. These are the jam for that. But yeah, they have these two different guys. They both set up well. I've been looking at the specs on them and digging into them. I think that's it in that line. Yeah, that's just the plates. And another driver that I'm looking at too, which I can't fit though, is these guys. And that's the 4-inch. Now they do have, and their components, mid-range. If we go over there, we have a couple of options here. You got this wideband 2.75 and 2-inch and 3-inch. This is the honey spot though. All right. This is an absolutely amazing little driver. And they are 3 inches. point source driver. Really, really, really good sounding drivers. I love them. But they do not take power very well. Don't put the loud guy with these. If the guy likes to crank the knob up to mostly full all the time, you'll be doing a warranty on these. If that guy is in your shop, you want to go here. These things will take a metric shit ton of abuse. And they play up to, it says 12K. And I'd say that's probably pretty reasonable. They can almost be a tweeter. If you like your highs rolled off, they would probably work for a tweeter. But I run them at 400 to 500 hertz, and then up to 5K. That's where I typically run them. And they are absolutely wonderful drivers to listen to. So if you're looking for a 3-inch wideband, these are some of the best I've ever heard, and I've heard a lot of speakers. But Audio Dynamics is the jam. I love this company, and great people too. So I could probably get a deal with them. I should talk to them. I have phone numbers for everybody. Guys, the people I talk to on a regular basis kind of blows my mind. I don't even know. But yeah, they're good people. Ampere components for $80. No, probably. RAM. I don't know about Ampere. Bobby said I'm running 6x9 KS, 6x9 3-way components in my RAM. Hell yeah, man. That, and Kicker does make some good 6x9 components. And I have considered that. I could jump into that bandwagon. I'm still waiting to figure out how I'm playing the front. That's a very realistic idea. And Niles says a lot of things. Yes, I'm just going to click on that because you guys got to see that. I don't know. He's very excited about his pink cans. It's funny stuff, man. Yeah, I know. Steve's like, what? Uh-huh. All right. Lots of comments. Snow says we're running my speakers at 8 ohms instead of 4 ohms. Mitigate static. No, that's not going to fix your static. Your static is a signal level issue. Most likely. I mean, if it's happening at really loud volume, then it's a different thing. But if it's happening consistently all the time, it's not going to change that, unfortunately. Got him. Oh, Bobby. Y'all see what happens? See what happens? You mess with the bouncer? Snow, can you explain this static you're talking about? Yeah, good. Because he was talking about that earlier, but I don't know. I didn't dig deep enough into the actual, because static can be a lot of things, It could be distortion from the drivers. It could be, I don't know. Good for Master Series Gray. Gary, you can do it. Oh, no, guys, understand it's not about the Master Series. Yeah, right. Yeah, I ain't finna drop that kind of money. That said, I could get that. I could get Master Series. I could get it, but I wouldn't because I'm not that kind of, it's just not my jam. I don't go crazy. But the thing is, it's not about whether or not I can get the equipment. I can pretty much can. Whatever it is, I can pretty much get it. And it's just, the problem is I want this to be a budget build. It is a build showing that we can do a lot with a little bit of money and get amazing things without having to break the bank, right? It's the same way with my Tahoe. It's the same thing. I could run Sundown, I could run Def Bunts, I could run B2, I could run whatever I want. But I choose what I'm running because this is what we're doing. This is how I'm trying to help the community as a whole see that it doesn't have to be this extremely expensive thing to get um, really awesome sound, right? Uh, I can build it however I want. I'm just doing. I mean, I'm going to run the B2 DSP, which is what's right behind me on the wall. I could run a $2,000 Audio Dynamics DSP. I could run a $1,000. I've got all the equipment. I've got tons of equipment in here. I could run whatever the hell I want. But I'm again trying to build this on a budget and multiple different budgets. Size budget. Don't make the car look like a car audio guy threw up in it. Budget. Um, a skill budget. All of these things are relevant. So, yeah. And I got a surprise coming very soon, uh, which is going to be part of this bill. I can't talk about it yet because I want to wait. It's a surprise, but it's going to be part of the bill. You guys are going to get to see it. It's coolness. Definitely interference, not a ground loop. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. It sounds like Snow has an AFM GM vehicle. What's up, G Body? I am just chilling like a villain, man. Nissan. Yeah, they don't have a mid bass that I'm aware of. Um, but I will say this: my buddy, Car Audio Shop, he has a store. He showed me a build he did in this really old truck. It's like I don't even know, like a 50 something model truck. But he did the firewalls, or not the firewalls. He did the kick. Okay, so my brain is not functioning right now. Where your kick panels would be, because you know in these old trucks there's nothing there. It's just sheet metal. He built an enclosure in the fender behind that, so he was able to mount them into the kicks into an enclosure that's literally outside of the cab. Okay, fiberglass. Very, very clean. I should have got pictures of this or video of it. I should go get video of it. He's still at the shop, I think. Anyway, he put a set of the Audio Dynamics 8s in there, and I think it was a pair of 8s. Maybe it was a 3-piece set, you know, like a 3-way set. But he had the subwoofer turned off at the time. He cranked that sucker, man. And here's the thing: it was loud, 100%. It was loud, but that wasn't the part that caught you off guard. It was the fact of how sharp and crisp and accurate the sound was. It was loud, but it was also super clean. And man, yeah, Audio Dynamics is pretty badass. I've ran the 5000 series mids. I've read the 1, 2, and 3000 series tweeters, all of them. I've ran the 1000s and the 2000 components and coaxials. I've ran the 1000s, 2000s, and 3000s and the subs. I've used multiple different amplifiers and multiple different DSPs from this company. I pretty much ran the vast majority of the stuff that they sell. And they're good shit. Those point sources sound awesome as long as you don't crank them hard. You don't put a lot of power on them or you'll blow them. You'll blow them. They don't cool as well as I would like them to. They seem to store up heat and then they just cook. And it might be the mid that goes, it might be the tweeter that goes, but that whole assembly is just not a good design. It sounds great as long as you're on low power though. Anyway, but those 3-inch wide bands, they're smoking good speakers. 100%. Audio Frog, maybe. Audio Frog's kind of pricey though. Pretty much across the board. They're not. They don't believe in chopping prices. We already have Focal, Helix, Arc, yeah. Those are all the standard. Everybody knows about those guys. But I will tell you this, and I don't care for the way Focal typically sounds. I just don't really care for the sound of those. But, and a lot of people do, and I get it. But these will stack up against a Morel, a high-end Audio Frog. Audio Dynamics will stack up against them across the board. And I find they sound more neutral. Whereas Focal tends to have this kind of nasally peak. It's a little bit hot in the, 800 to 1500 range, maybe. I don't know. Maybe higher than that. If you listen to them enough, you know what I'm talking about. They seem to have a bit of a nasally kind of a peak in them. You can DSP it out, of course, but where they have that, the AD drivers are just flat, and they sound exactly the way you expect them to sound. They're a lot more forgiving. They're very purpose-built too. Like the 5000 series mid-bass AD drivers, the 6.5s, will absolutely play low. They do not play high. They will, but it sounds like hot garbage. They're like a mini woofer. If you try to play 2000 hertz with them, you're not going to be happy with that. If you want them to play 50, 60 hertz up to like 200, 300 hertz, they jump all over that. They will not, there's no flexibility. They're very specific. But if you use them for what they're intended for, they are phenomenally good mid-bass drivers. The 5000 series. I could talk about speakers all day. When SQ setup don't overlook CDT. Very good point. Very good point. And yeah, stealth budget. Yes. And that's the other thing. I'm trying. The other thing with this is I want it to look, even on close inspection, like a completely factory setup. The only thing that's going to stand out, and it's intentionally going to stand way out if I can make it work, is that monstrous head unit screen. The rest of the car is going to look like it did from the factory, if possible. I want to keep it as close as I can to that factory look. Does Pete still work at AD? Yes. Well, he doesn't work. I don't think he actually worked at AD. Kind of, sort of. He's more like a consultant, I think. But I'm not sure about the power dynamics or the political dynamics of that relationship. But I think he still does. He's still jiving with them in some capacity. And Pete's a great dude too. Anyway, guys, we are going to call it because I haven't eaten all day. I had to go to this stupid doctor's appointment this morning, and they were going to check. They were going to scan me, but they ended up couldn't. But anyway, I couldn't eat. I wasn't allowed to eat before, so I haven't eaten today, and I'm going to go ahead and eat. And I've been out there working all evening. As soon as I got back from the doctor, I went straight to work. And you guys will be seeing that video come up tonight or in the morning. It'll pop up. Be sure and check it out. You'll love it. For tonight, guys, we are going to get the duck out of here.
Street, slamming it to the ground. Big subwoofers are getting loud. You can feel the booming sound. Getting ready to go. Got it shined up for the show. power's charging. Amps are amping, gonna let the woofers blow. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. We got more at home. Another one bites the dust. Eyes are glowing and the amps smoking. Subs are cherry red. Let me keep jamming, gotta keep the bass slamming, gonna go hard till they're dead. Full power, gotta let it go. 20 hertz in the floating air. Sparks are flying, voice coils are frying, and the smoke is in the air. Another one bites the dust. Another one bites the dust. And another one goes, and another one goes, and another one bites the dust. Hey, we got more at home. Another one bites the dust.